Hi everyone, my name is Max Giro. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Inauro, and today I'm super excited to introduce you to Perspio, our data fusion platform that is now available on the Geotab marketplace. To give everyone a bit of context on who Inauro is, we're a team that originally came out of equipment hire. We're managing a very large mixed fleet of assets across Australia and New Zealand. Anything from road vehicles, plant and machinery, hand tools, down to toilets, ablution blocks, and non-powered assets like crash barriers and road plates. With very little visibility on how our assets were being used when they were out on hire, we couldn't create the efficiencies we needed inside the operation. We knew that telematics and IoT more generally were going to be key technologies for us to gain this understanding, but we also knew that it wasn't going to be all of the solution. Our fleet had assets that were new, that came in with OEM telemetry. We had older assets that we could tap into the onboard computer through CAN signals, and we had much older assets where we could only get location and approximate utilization data. Of course, data that was generated from the OBD port of road vehicles was very different from the data we were getting off the level of fuel in a mobile tank. So we ended up having to log into different systems to see different assets. There's absolutely no way that this could be operationalized across our 1,500 employee force. Now, we didn't want to rationalize the fleet on a single hardware solution, because that would limit the data we could acquire and force us to overlay devices on top of the OEM telemetry we're getting from our suppliers. So we went to the market to find a piece of software that would enable us to bring all of our telemetry feeds together in a single platform and make it operationally relevant to the teams in the branches. But unfortunately, we were unsuccessful at the time. We couldn't find this piece of software that could bring in all of those different varied data feeds and make sense of them. So we started to build it. We actually built it twice inside that operation and rolled it out successfully across 180 branches. That delivered a massive impact on the operation. 3 years ago, we had so much interest for the software that we had built that we decided to step out of the company, become independent, and create Perspio, a platform that helps industrialize the use of real-time data in an operation. Perspio is an award-winning ISO 27001 compliant low-code SaaS platform running on Microsoft Azure that ingests data from any digital data thread in the field, be it telematics, IoT devices, digital forms, or any other, and marries it up with other data relevant to the business. Things like weather, traffic, tolls, or any other data thread that's available. That data is then merged with information present in the customer's operational systems like ERPs and CRMs that provide more context to this data. We're no longer talking about a telemetry asset, but an operational one. For example, an excavator is represented the same way in Perspio, no matter if the data source comes from OEM telemetry with all the bells and whistles, or from a simple device providing location. Its characteristics, naming conventions, servicing information, financial utilization, current owner, and so on are brought in from the asset management system so that it is operationally understandable by the customer teams on the ground. Other data points can be held onto the asset too, things like pre-start checklists, operators and their licenses and tickets, and so on. Perspio's main focus is to be a real-time platform, showing the individual users what they need to know right this moment to make the right decisions and create automations, either using Perspio's UI capabilities or through workflows triggering actions in systems the users already know. As you would have gathered by now, at its simplest form, Perspio is a data integration platform that can bring a single fleet under one roof, no matter the telemetry vendor or the mix of telemetry vendors that your customers may have. And that becomes specifically relevant when we're considering the 3G sundown in Australia, for example, which is inducing a lot of fleet swap outs, and which I'm sure you're currently considering. In this scenario, you can gradually transfer over to Geotab from a competitor without impacting the way your customers use the data. Perspio relies on a library of connectors that the Inauro team keeps adding to with customer demands. Currently, we have more than 65 connectors spanning more than 100 devices that we're maintaining to a range of telemetry and third-party systems, making it easy to ingest and interact with data from any asset, whether telemetry enabled or not. This data is then denormalized and remapped to trips and events so that it is usable and feeds an array of reports and dashboards. Similarly, our library of connectors with ERP, CRM, accounting, and other operational systems also grows based on our customer needs. In order to access those systems that are sometimes behind company firewalls, Inauro has developed Perspio Agent to create a secure tunnel for this data. Wherever made possible by those systems, Perspio has a two-way integration, making it possible for the platform to post back real-time data to these systems, avoiding fat finger exercises that often happen when inputting things like odometer data or service hours in a third-party system. Perspio's role-based access capability makes it possible to restrict the modules available and the assets represented in those modules dynamically if required. By dynamically, we talk here about a scenario where a customer has access for the period of a rental contract, for example. Perspio's dynamic grouping creates an asset group based on ERP data, where assets come in and out based on rental information that syncs multiple times a day. Access to these asset groups can then be shared to customers without having to reevaluate group memberships every time an asset comes on board. There are many different ways to use Perspio for yourself and for your customers, and there's no set rules. The key here is to have flexibility to fit within the way your customers operate. As a modern platform, Perspio has been developed in an API-first manner, meaning that there's nothing that you can do from the UI that you can't do using an API call from another system. What does that mean? It means Perspio doesn't need to be seen. It can operate in the background, providing data into a third-party system, which could very well be your own platforms, and operate silently. Of course, its UI can also be used by you internally or as a customer-facing dashboard. For more information, Perspio has a public developers portal that you may want to look at. So please go to developers.perspio.io. Ingesting all of this disparate data in one place is a great first step, but the bigger benefit you can deliver to your customers is when you are able to create automations based on this data, so that they become more efficient. To that effect, Perspio comes with a best-in-class self-serve workflow engine, where you can create the automations you need to drive a positive impact on the operation. Perspio currently supports 3 types of workflows based on telemetry streams, asset states, or on schedules, covering most use cases. Workflows can be built based on an asset or a group of assets, a time of day, and any conditions defined by and or from any of the data available across the platform. Give you an example: if an asset is on hire and passes a toll, write a charge to the customer's contract. Currently, Perspio supports classic SMS and email actions, as well as webhooks to third-party systems and integrations to form software like safety culture inspections and actions. Finally, I wanted to touch on Perspio's transport module, which is now commercially available in the platform. This module enhances the fleet management aspect to encompass delivery pickups and drop-offs and make transport managers' job easier. Now, Perspio is not going to be your route planning software, but we can ingest delivery dockets from the ERP sync or the route planning sync and dynamically geofence locations, customer delivery points, into the platform, so that we can then create events upon approach, entry, and exit of those geofences, bringing even more context to the data coming from those telemetry-enabled assets. That's it for us today. I hope this quick overview of Perspio was interesting for you, and we look forward to any questions that you may have. Please feel free to reach out to us either through the Inauro LinkedIn page, Twitter page, or directly to myself. My details are on the screen. We look forward to working with you. Thanks.